All right, what's up, guys? It's C-Rev. Welcome to the first comprehensive positional tier list video for MLB The Show 22. The date today is April 2nd of 2022. It is the day after early access launch. The goal of these videos, as I'm going to be posting them throughout the year if you're new, is to give you guys a good understanding of who's good and who's not good in the game. Obviously, these are always my subjective opinions, but the point of the video is to kind of give you a framework of what I think is good at the time and how to best build your team to have the most success in ranked. If you guys are new to my stuff, I do stream on Twitch. It's at twitch.tv/CRev. My Twitter is at CRevMLB if you want to toss me a follow over there. My YouTube is CRev if you're seeing this somewhere else. And then I do want to mention I did start a Patreon. You can find that down in the bio of this video. So without further ado, let's jump right into the catcher position. Going over the color coding, I think on this one you'll only see white and blue, but the blue is a guy in a secondary position. We also changed the tiers up a little bit for this year, going with the more standard SAB that most tier lists use. Again, disclaimers, these are just my opinions. It is very early in the year, so unless you've got live series collections done, you're going to be using a lot of cards that have weaknesses, and so especially as a no money spent player, we're trying to maximize like the most value we can get, and hopefully these tier list rankings can help you. But with catcher, obviously the best catcher is 96 Mauer. I'm so glad he's back in the game. That card's crazy. I don't think it's crazy to think that that 96 Mauer could have been the AL collection reward instead of Frank Thomas, and people would have been more excited, even just leaving him as a 96. So yeah, Joe Mauer's insanely good. Gonna be the best catcher in the game for a while, I think, and yeah, so happy he's back in the game. In second place, I have Adley Rutschman, who's also pretty expensive. Doing the entire prospects collection at this point is going to cost you a lot, or cost you a lot of time. But Adley, welcome back. Third straight year we've gotten an early game prospect, Adley, so that's always fun. 91 Posada in third. Then we have 85 Mike Napoli. Even though he is a collection reward, I think he's the live series for the Rangers. He's not that expensive, so for being a fourth place catcher, an 85 overall, really good. His hitting stats are crazy good. He's basically Corey Seager, but with the power and the contact flipped. So he's got like low 80s contact and mid 90s power versus both sides, which is really, really good for a launch week catcher. In sixth, we have the purchasable cover athlete Joe Mauer, 88 overall. Then we start getting into the face of the franchise guys with 90 JT Realmuto, followed by 89 Gary Sanchez, 90 Sean Murphy, 96 Gary Carter, who's always terrible for me, and then 86 Pablo Sandoval. Does have a catcher secondary, so he's at the bottom of S there. At the top of A tier, still some pretty good cards. You can't get an 88 Mike Piazza for free by completing the U.S. Conquest map, so that may be an option for you if you want to have a no-stub catcher, free catcher. And then we've got Live Series Perez and Grandal right underneath him. Face of the franchise Carson Kelly, who's kind of just a bummer of a card. And then Live Series Realmuto, Melendez, and Will Smith rounding out A tier. And then some more options for you in B tier. You will see throughout these positions, for catcher, these are the only cards that can play catcher in the game right now. There's like less than 30 of them, I think. But for the other positions that are a lot deeper, we stayed to just the top 50 cards. So you won't see more than 50. Outfield and starting pitcher are 60, but that's kind of the framework I stick with throughout the year, just to not make this too overwhelming. And honestly, as we get down into the B, C, D tiers, especially early game, it's just going to be a lot of gold cards. So most of the value you'll get as far as having a good team is going to be on the first page. So that being said, let's move on to first base. Obviously, Frank Thomas is going to be number one, the AL Live Series Collection Reward, 99 overall. Joe Mauer in second place, does have first base secondary, would be really good there if he wasn't obviously the best catcher. And then in third, we have 95 Albert Pujols, who may be the best bang for your buck card right now. I fully anticipate his price to go up in the near future, not just from this video, but from just the value standpoint. Last I looked, he was selling for like $90K, which is crazy for a 95 overall during the first week of the game. and it's a really, really good card. I think he's statted really well, has a lot of secondary positions, you know, higher contact versus right, but better power versus left. Overall, really love the Pujols card. The way you get him is through the chase pack, if you didn't know. And I'm so happy we get a good Albert Pujols very early on. I know last year we got the 89 from Conquest, but a mid-90s Pujols right away hasn't happened very often, so super happy about that. In fourth, we have Michael Young, who is a collection reward. And then in fifth place, the first pure first baseman, who I think is a really underrated card, is the new 88 Ryan Howard. He's statted extremely well for a launch week card. I'm not sure how he's only an 88 overall. He is missing a bit of contact versus left, but again, you're going to use cards with weaknesses this early on. And overall, he's my favorite first baseman that's not tied to a collection or anything. Then rounding out S+, we got Prince Fielder Jim Thome, face of the franchise Rafael Devers, face of the franchise Josh Bell, and then cover athlete David Ortiz. Top of S tier, we've got Adley in his secondary position, then Helton, then live series Jose Ramirez. 88 Miguel Cabrera, another really good budget card you could use for third base or first base. Price is pretty cheap right now, good value there. Then we got live series Vlad Jr., Mike Napoli in his secondary position, and then Crone, Carter, Bellinger, and Torkelson rounding out S tier. A tier starts to fall off a little bit, but luckily still some diamond cards available since first base is so deep. You can see the only gold in there would be 83 live series Rafael Devers, kind of chilling down there by the bottom. As far as B, C, and D tier, like I said, this is really where stuff kind of falls off. At the deep positions, you're going to start seeing more gold cards here. But I wanted to make sure I had these options on the page, just in case like you just pick up the game today and you need to see like the cheapest first baseman that I think is worthy of mentioning. You can use these slides like that. But that being said, we will move on from first base and go ahead and dive into second base. Best second baseman is 97 Chase Utley. Second would be 96 Michael Young. And then the best second baseman not tied to collections would be 90 face of the franchise Jazz Chisholm, who I am so excited to use. 90 Jazz Chisholm comes with diamond defense and 91 speed stock. You don't even have to parallel him for it. And also really good splits. Looks a lot like Trent Grisham's launch day card from last year, which raked for me. So super excited about Jazz. I think he's the best second baseman. Obviously, if you don't have Utley or Young. Close second is Corey Seager, another card that's really good at the plate, leaves a little bit to be desired defensively at second base. He's a little bit slow and he'll have bronze defense there, but the bat is crazy good. In fifth, we have live series Fernando Tatis Jr., which is a super interesting card and pretty hard to place at all the positions he plays for me personally on this tier list because his defense is so bad and his hitting is so insane. If you play him at second base, he's going to have common defense, 55 fielding. But the bat is just pretty much unlike any other in the game right now, the bat combined with the speed. So it's really hard to rank him. I had him fifth. You could have him higher if you don't care about defense. You could have him a lot higher. But if you do care about defense, he could even be lower. You should go take a look at his attributes so you can see what I'm talking about. Very strange card. And the cover athlete Tatis, the 88 overall, is actually statted the same way, just with like lower stats and everything. So just weird cards to rank. But if you care only about hitting bombs, that's a card to look out for, Tatis Jr. In sixth, we have Trey Turner, then Lindor Ramirez. Ray Durham, I'm super excited to use. Ray Durham is the White Sox collection reward, I believe, for live series, and he looks exactly like the Kenny Lofton card we got at launch day last year, except he's a switch hitter and plays second base. So that's a really interesting card. Really liked that Lofton last year, so can't wait to try out Ray Durham. And then we got 88 Tatis rounding out S+. At the top of S, we've got Cronenworth and Utley, which are very close together in terms of power level. Then we got Edmund, Volpe, Franco, Simeon, Baez, Marte Muncy, and 91 Craig Biggio. In A tier, we do have 82 Brandon Lau, who's got crazy power for a gold. And then you'll see with second base and even more so shortstop, once you get past S tier, the quality of cards really starts to drop off. A lot of golds that you're going to be looking at once you get past S. So really try if you can to get like a budget card or a less expensive card from S Plus or S. Here are the remaining cards for second baseman if you need some more options there. Moving on to third base, the best third baseman, this At the top end, third base was kind of shallow. I was surprised. So the best third baseman for me when I sat down and ranked these is Pujols. So that leaves something to be said, especially with Michael Young still hanging around from collections. Again, you could definitely rate Tatis Jr. higher than Pujols if you just care about offense, and it's a lot easier to get away with bad defense at third base on this game. So Tatis Jr. could be above Pujols and Young. It's very close. In fourth, we got Troy Glaus. Pretty good card, just leaves a lot to be desired, contact versus right, but everything else is super strong. And then we got Seager hanging out again. Again, you can hide the defense at third base, and the bat is just crazy good, so that's why he is fifth. 90 Rafael Devers in sixth. Then we got Chipper Jones, Trey Turner, Francisco Lindor, and 88 Tatis rounding out S+. At the top of S, we got Jazz, who loses a lot of value because when you play him in a secondary position, he drops from diamond defense to gold defense. Additionally, you won't be able to utilize his speed defensively at third. Since you're just playing the hot corner, you won't have to move a lot in terms of like running for an extended period of time. So that's why he drops down from S+ to S. Just really think you should play him at second base or shortstop if you can. Then we got Jose Ramirez, Miguel Cabrera, Vlad Jr., the 94 collection, Hank Aaron in a secondary position. Torkelson, Baez, Longoria from many seasons is an interesting card. Tons of power, but very, very low contact. Another weird card to try to evaluate. But a free option for you. I mentioned Mike Piazza earlier from Conquest. If you're looking for a free third baseman, you can get 89 Evan Longoria from completing and winning the championship in many seasons. Euclid and Cronenworth rounding out S tier. And then third baseman being a very deep position. We've got Volpe at the top, then Freeman, Muncy, Gold Devers, Tommy Edmonds, Sandoval, Arenado, Donaldson, Machado, and face of the franchise Wander Franco rounding out A tier. B and C tier still have some really solid options. You start getting into live series golds who just have good bats, notably Seager and Castellanos in the B tier, and those are some more options for you if you're so inclined. Moving on to shortstop, I do have 96 Michael Young in first, but I think 90 Trey Turner is really close just because of what he brings overall. He's a much better defender than Michael Young is. Even though he only has silver defense stock, you can get it to gold at parallel 4. It's going to take you a long time. But the 99 speed really helps his range a ton at a position like shortstop. He's going to be much better at getting to balls up the middle or on bunts or just slow rollers or anything than Michael Young is, and he's not that far behind at the plate just because he has active quirks and such. So 90 Trey Turner could definitely be the best shortstop right now, but I did put Michael Young slightly ahead of him. Then I have Seager ahead of Lindor. The reason being, finding a left-handed good bat at shortstop there so early on is a lot of value. I know Seager is going to be pretty bad defensively at shortstop, but I still think he's a better card than Lindor, especially considering that Lindor has even lower arm strength than Corey Seager. So even though Lindor has the max fielding and reaction, he's still not that much better than Seager defensively, and Seager's just way better offensively. In 6, we got 90 Jazz Chisholm. Again, you kind of want to play him at second base if you can help yourself, but still viable at shortstop. The speed is going to help you there more so than third base. Then we got Tatis Jr., who is going to be pretty bad at shortstop with bronze defense, but again, the bat is crazy. Troy Glaus, Wander Franco, 88 Tatis, and Jake Cronenworth rounding out shortstop here. And then you can really start to see the drop-off when we get into A tier. Shortstop is one of the shallowest positions in the game right now. But in S tier, we got Edmund, Volpe, Baez, Ramirez, Chipper Jones. Kind of a disappointing Chipper card. I wish he had better attributes for being a launch day Chipper, but still a decent option. Then we got Ripken, Machado, Semien Marte, and Didi Gregorius. And then as you get into A tier, you start to get into the golds. You can see at the bottom you've got 83 not Dodger Max Muncy. Today was actually the day I found out that there is a Max Muncy prospect card for the A's, and it's not Dodger Max Muncy, so I thought that was funny to put in there. B tier, C tier, D tier, some more options for you. It's basically, again, just going to be Gold Live Series cards and prospect cards because the position is so shallow in terms of overall number of cards that are diamond/good right now. All right, cruising right along, let's dive into the outfield, which is normally a nightmare to rank, but I kind of enjoy the day one tier list with outfield because there's not as many cards in the game. Kind of a little bit cleaner to rank. So number 1, we got 99 Roberto Clemente, the National League Live Series Collection Award. In second place, we have Live Series Mike Trout. Then we have Live Series Ronald Acuna Jr. Both cards are so good, and they're going to be expensive for a long time. 94 Kirk Gibson, New Legend in 4th. 93 Prime Grady Sizemore, a collection reward in 5th. And then in 6th, we finally have our first technically free card, which is Face of the Franchise, Byron Buxton. You guys know how much I love Buxton. Yeah, card's insanely good for this point in the year. I'm going to be using him like crazy. Then we have 95 Albert Pujols, who is actually a primary left fielder because it is a Rookie of the Year card, and that's the position he played when he came up. His defense isn't terrible for an outfielder, and he obviously brings a thumper of a bat, so definitely an option, definitely an S+ tier option in the outfield for launch week. Rounding out S+, we got 90 Mike Trout ahead of 90 Brian Reynolds, who's ahead of 90 Cedric Mullins. They're all pretty close. You could re-rank those bottom 3 in any order, and I wouldn't blame you. But I do have Trout ahead of Reynolds, ahead of Mullins for that. In S tier, just because I like to keep only 10 cards per tier, so Kyle Tucker's the odd man out here at number 11, but still an insanely good card. Definitely top S tier. Same with 90 Ronald Acuna Jr. and 90 Luis Robert. Honestly, these outfielders in S tier, even though they're not top 10 on this list, are all more than viable. All extremely good cards. Again, Turner Tatis, then Live Series Buxton, and then Live Series Aaron Judge, Mickey Mantle 88 overall, 88 King Griffey Jr., and Face of the Franchise Mitch Haniger. In A+ tier, I do have Cody Bellinger at the top, followed by Hank Aaron, and then things start to drop off a little bit in terms of the weaknesses kind of glaring. So if you look at a card like Ricky Henderson, good fielding, 99 speed, but the bat leaves a lot to be desired. You look at Juan Soto, great bat, defense leaves a lot to be desired. So here's where you kind of start getting away from the 5 tools, I guess you could say, but still more than solid options. I even really like that 88 Vlad Sr. card, and I have him ranked 30th on this list. So there's a lot of good options in outfield always. This is definitely one of the positions where if you find a guy that's working for you, you should stick with him. And if I say a guy's good and you're just struggling, then go ahead and ditch him. So I should have said that earlier in the video, but that applies to everyone because these are just my opinions. Just because I say someone's good doesn't mean you have to try him, and just because I say someone's bad, if you're having success with him, don't get away from that. Moving on to the rest of the outfield tiers, there's so many of them. I have A- tier and then B and C. Even the cards in A- tier are pretty good. You look at guys like Tommy Edman, who could hold their own out there. Live Series Tyler O'Neill, who's an absolute steal in terms of stubs that he costs. So lots you can do with your outfield right now. Definitely one of the easiest positions to fill out on your team. And a lot of the cards are really fun. So I really enjoy the outfield. All right, moving on to starting pitchers now, which was pretty difficult to rank. Again, there's not a lot good ones. Wow, I really can't talk. There's not a lot of good ones. As you get to the bottom of A tier, you start to get some gold cards trickling in there. Although some of the gold prospect cards are sneaky good. But anyway, at the start of S+ tier, you've got obviously Live Series Collection Reward, Randy Johnson. And then I do have Shohei ahead of DeGrom, both Live Series cards. In 4th, I've got 96 Mike Mussina. And then in 5th, I've got cover athlete Shohei Ohtani. If you've watched my videos in the past, you know how much I love Shohei. I think having the extra bat is extremely valuable since there is still no DH in Diamond Dynasty. In 6th, I have 88 Live Series Corbin Burns. And then we got Dontrell Willis, New Legend. And then Corey Kluber, Logan Webb, and Casey Mize rounding out S+. Top of S tier, we've got Dallas Keuchel, Max Scherzer, the pre-order diamond or the deluxe edition diamond, Randy Johnson there in 13th. Pedro Martinez, Zach Wheeler, Walker Buehler, and then you got a couple of face of the franchise guys, Stroman, Manoah, Jack Leiter, and Mark Pryor rounding out S. And then in A tier, you got Garrett Cole and Nolan Ryan, 2 guys who are usually statted pretty well, but just don't perform well for me over the years. And then we got Gold, Yuri Perez, the best prospect starting pitcher. You guys should take a look at that card if you're looking for someone to slot in. He probably should be a diamond, and his pitch mix is pretty gross. So really like that card. Then we got Kershaw, Brandon Webb, Verlander, Woodruff, Mick Abel, Chris Sale, and Steven Strasburg. Starting pitcher is a position that's kind of hard to fill out well. In the beginning of the game cycle, like getting 5 good ones takes a little bit of time. So don't be afraid if you find a gold card listed in any of these tiers that you like. just go ahead and stick with them. There's a lot of sneaky golds of legends that are typically good. The first one that comes to mind is Valenzuela down there in B tier, but pitching is the hardest to get good early on in the game cycle. So if you find a gold you like, then go ahead and stick with them. On to the bullpen now. We've got right-handed relievers, so I do think Devin Williams is the best reliever in the game. 96 Kenley's really disappointing to me. He is still number 2 for me, but only 3 pitches and only 105 hits per 9. Was definitely expecting that card to be a lot better when I saw his overall and the fact that he's a big collection reward. So bit of a disappointment there, but still going to be one of the best options in the game for a couple months at least. In third, we got Emmanuel Clase, then Tom Hinkie and Adam Ottavino rounding out the top 5. And rounding out S tier, we've got Lee Smith, Joe Nathan, and Gold Rob Dibble. A tier, again, stuff really starts to fall off, but there's a couple of sneaky good ones at the top here. Rysel, Kerry Wood, Blake Trinan, Darren O'Day, and Devin Williams are all very solid bullpen options at this point in the year, and they all bring something unique to the table. Don't sleep on that 85 Kerry Wood. You get him from Conquest, and his pitch mix is actually sneaky good, so definitely an A tier reliever. You can see Goose, Hendricks Jansen, Life Series Jansen, and Presley rounding out A tier, and then just some more B tier options for you listed there if you need them. All right, on to the last position, which is left-handed reliever. Very, very scarce position right now. Almost nobody that you can use to fill out an entire bullpen unless you have really expensive cards. I do have 90 Araldis as number 1. Then there's 91 Andrew Miller, who is a Battle Royale 12-0 reward, so you could grind the program out and get him, but otherwise he's going to be pretty expensive. And then you really start to fall off. You've got Live Series Hater, who's probably a must for every team, Alvarado, and then Live Series Chapman. Remember, you can't run both Chapmans, so even though that's the top 5, we've only gone through 4 people. And then the next best, highest overall is Taylor Rogers. And then you start having to look into silvers and gold. So I did list some silvers and gold for you guys just because there's so few options in terms of golds and diamonds. I said silvers and golds, I meant silvers and bronzes. There's so few options for lefty relievers right now, so I did leave some silvers and bronzes for you guys to check out if you're interested when you're starting to build up your team, but those will be filtered out as we keep doing these throughout the year. All right, let's get into the team builds and the lineups and such. Mix things up a little bit here. So I used to have a slide where it was no stubs spent, but the way they've changed team affinity and the way the featured program works on launch day, it kind of was impossible to do that. So we only have 2 slides. We have what is my best team, my best representation of like a no money spent team, and then we have the best team possible if you have access to every card. We may modify it again and add a 3rd team build as we move through the year, depending on how easy it is to get cards for free. But as it stands right now, this slide is my best interpretation of the best no money spent team. So this squad does not involve any collections. It does not involve any high overall live series cards, so that is 90 plus overalls. It also doesn't include any World Series or Battle Royale rewards. So should talk about the face of the franchise cards here too. You can notice on the pitching side of things, I've got Casey Mize and Emmanuel Clase in pink and in parentheses. It's because they're kind of over the limit. So when you grind the program, you get 6 random non-sellable cards, and then you get 6 cards that you can choose and sell. So building this team, I ended up with I think 8 or 9 face of the franchise cards, and that was a bit too many. So I think I cut out Mize and Clase. Just because I don't know what their prices are going to settle at. If they end up being really expensive, then that kind of defeats the purpose of this no money spent team. But if they end up being pretty cheap, then they are more than welcome to join the team. But I think I cut it off at 7, and then Mize and Clase were the 8th and 9th. So to keep it fair, I didn't want to go too far over 6 of those cards because you can only get 6 of them that you have a choice of. You can always buy them off the market, obviously, but again, I don't know what their prices are going to be at. All that is to say, here's the best no money spent team that I could come up with. I've also ordered the lineup how I would do it. So leading off, we've got 90 Jazz Chisholm playing second. Hitting second, we've got 90 Brian Reynolds in left. And then we got 88 Ryan Howard playing first. Hitting cleanup is 95 Pujols at third. 5th is Corey Seager at shortstop. 6th is Mike Trout, face of the franchise, in right field. 7th is 88 Joe Mauer, the cover athlete card, and then in 8th is 90 Byron Buxton. On the bench, we really try to use guys who we can, handle weaknesses in our lineup. So we made sure one of our righties was someone who could play first base, so we have a little protection for Ryan Howard late in the game. And we made sure one of our righties was a catcher, so we have a little protection for Joe Mauer late in the game. Likewise, we made sure we had an outfielder as a lefty because all 3 of our outfielders are either right-handed or switch, so that's why we have 88 King Griffey Jr. there. And then we've got 88 David Ortiz, just kind of a pure pinch hitter from the left side, and then Mickey Mantle for the switch hitter. I will be posting a separate video, the best way to set your lineup and your bench and everything. I did one last year and it was really popular with you guys, so we'll do that again if you want to see like the intricacies of how I ordered things and who I chose for my bench and stuff. Anyway, moving on to the rotation, we've got cover athlete Shohei, then the live series Corbin Burns, face of the franchise Logan Webb, deluxe edition Diamond Randy Johnson, and then live series Zach Wheeler, who could be replaced by face of the franchise Casey Mize if you get lucky with your non-sellables or if the cards end up being very cheap. In the bullpen, we're going to be running 5 righties and 3 lefties for most of the first couple months of launch. We always do this just because, again, left-handed relievers are so scarce that generally the righties are just better. It's almost better just to throw like an 85 Ottavino at a lefty than it is to try to play a matchup left on left with like an 81 Taylor Rogers. That's just my opinion anyway. So we'll be running 5-3 in the bullpen for a couple months. Our 5 from the right side for this no money spent team would be 90 Devin Williams, 85 Adam Ottavino, Gold Rob Dibble, 85 Kerry Wood, and 84 Raisel Iglesias. Again, you can use Clase here if you got them as a no-sell or if these cards end up being very cheap on the marketplace. And for our lefties, we're going to use 90 Aroldis Chapman, live series Josh Hader, and gold Taylor Rogers. And the final slide for the video, this is the best team possible if you had access to every card in the game, as well as how I would order the lineup. So leading off, we'd have live series Mike Trout playing center field. Hitting second would be Roberto Clemente in right. Then third, we'd have Joe Mauer behind the dish playing catcher. Fourth would be 99 Frank. Fifth would be 95 Pujols. Sixth would be 97 Utley at second base. Seventh would be live series Acuna in center. And then we'd have Michael Young at shortstop rounding it out. On the bench, definitely want to rock Tatis Jr. and Trey Turner. A couple of thumpers, specifically Tatis Jr. as a bench card is insane. If you have the flexibility to have a card that expensive on your bench, he's one of the best hitters in the game, so amazing to have him there. And then we got 90 Cedric Mullins as one of our lefties. Just because all 3 of our outfielders are right-handed, I thought that was a better play. And then we have 88 Ryan Howard as well. Not that we'd ever take Frank Thomas out. He's more of a traditional left-handed pinch hitter there. And then our switch hitter is going to be Brian Reynolds. In the rotation, we've got Live Series Collection Randy Johnson, then Live Series Shohei and DeGrom. We've got Mike Mussina, and then Live Series Corbin Burns rounding it out there. And then in the bullpen, our 5 from the right side are Devin Williams, Kenley Jansen, Emmanuel Clase, Tom Hinkie, and Adam Ottavino. And from the left side, we're using 90 Aroldis Chapman, 91 Andrew Miller, and live series Josh Hader. So that is going to wrap it up for the video. I hope it was helpful for you guys. Again, this video is being recorded the day after launch. So if you're watching this a couple weeks down the line, there's probably a lot of cards that are in the game that I didn't mention, and it's because I made this basically right when the game came out. But I hope it helped. I hope you guys are able to make some lineup and positional decisions because of it. If you watched all the way to the end, would appreciate you dropping a like on the video. And if you haven't already, subscribing to the channel. We are full-time on YouTube and Twitch now, so we're going to be putting out as much content as we possibly can this year, all geared around helping you guys make better decisions and get better at the game. So that being said, appreciate you guys. Take care, and we'll see you in